Good evening. Welcome to Ignite Your Soul Connection Summer Solstice Edition 2021. We are actually doing Our Children Matter. And what an amazing subject to take on right now when so many of our children are choosing to leave the planet. So this week we're having deep conversations, looking at ourselves as parents, as leaders, as committed people inside of a conversation to save our children. My name is Shemsu-t. Many call me Rita Stewart. I am the owner of Master Force and the founder of Master Force International Leadership Academy. We actually started producing this segment or Ignite Your Soul Connection in 2011 to prepare us for the ascension process that started taking place in 2012. We have since continued with this gift to our community because we want you to know that you have neighbors right next to you that can make a difference. You don't have to always look at the celebrities and people famous to find answers. There are people close to you that are ready to support you, ready to listen to you, and ready to actually offer any assistance that you may need to go to the next level. And tonight we have two of those people with us. We're going to spend the evening talking about what it looks like to offer and assist children in taking on self care. Now, many of you may think, what do children need to know about self care? All they have to do is brush their teeth and take a bath and change their underwear every now and then, right? Well, actually, self care goes a lot deeper than that. And you will find out how deep that goes. So, tonight we're going to be talking to Dr. Tammye and Marshawn, and we'll be listening in for the clues and any methods and tools they may have that we can assist our young people with. So, as we get started, I want us to first take a moment and meet our speakers for tonight. And I'll actually start with an introduction. Dr. Tammye, will you please take a few minutes and introduce yourself to our community? How are you tonight?
I am wonderful, Mushin Sue. How are you?
I am wonderful as well. Thanks for asking.
Wonderful. So, yes, I am Dr. Tammye Mathews. I am a registered naturopathic doctor, and I am a life coach. I like to shorten it all to say now that I am a holistic detox coach, helping people to go to their next level mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and in some cases, financially. So I am located in Atlanta, Georgia, but I service clients all over the world. And my office originally is in Chicago, so that will always be my home base. But I am currently in Atlanta, Georgia, and I am excited about being a part of our symposium tonight.
Wonderful, Dr. Tammye. And then, what year did you actually get your Master Force certification? Do you remember?
Oh, yes. So I was in the first class, the
That's
2011 class.
you were in the first class, 2010, 2011. That's
Yes,
right.
2010,
Yeah,
2011.
because we
Yes.
wouldn't quit. We kept going.
We kept going. We kept going. And it was life changing. And the tools, the energy that was shared during that time has elevated myself personally as well as restored by Tammye, my business.
Yes.
So I am pleased. So this is what our what 10th, 11th year anniversary.
Yes.
Very
On both
excited
sides.
on
Yes.
both sides.
Yeah,
Yes,
we
yes,
anniversary at the same time.
absolutely.
That's so cool. Very good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
And thank you for being here, for taking time out. And I know how busy you are. So it does mean a lot to have you here. I don't take it for
Thank you,
granted. So thank you.
thank you, thank you.
Okay. And then we have Marshawn Frencha, who's actually one of our youngest life coaches. And He's also always so supportive, always ready to. What's next, Moot? Marshawn, will you introduce yourself to our speaker, to our guest tonight?
Yes. Like everyone said, my name is Marshawn Frencha. I am also a life coach as well. I got my certification when I was
17.
17 going on 18,
No, you were
16,
16 going on
16 going on
17.
17,
Yeah.
16 going on 17.
That's
It was my
awesome.
junior year of high school.
Right.
So yes, got my certification my junior year of high school. I am, like I said, a life coach, artist, fashion enthusiast. I also am the owner of my own business and podcast, Frencha Full Circle, which is actually coming up on its first year anniversary. And it's so funny because I had both Moot and Tammye as some of my first guests. So
Yes.
yeah,
Has it been a whole year? Oh my goodness.
it
Wow.
has. It has. But yeah, I'm excited tonight just because I've been through my own journey of um, like when we talked about tradition and routine, like creating things to help us be our best selves.
Yeah.
Especially being young, it's so hard navigating, especially the times today. Sometimes it can be very difficult navigating everything at once. And so just to be here to offer tools that have helped me along the way is a great experience.
Well, I'm glad you made yourself available too, because I know you're starting back to school. You're probably working. You're navigating your family life too. So
Yeah.
thank
Yes.
you.
I recently became a gallery host for yeah.
Mhm.
So I've been doing
That's
that. Yeah.
awesome.
So it's been
That's
fun.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, see
I
there,
love
that
it.
is yes. It isn't right. It's like
That's so
okay,
awesome. I love it.
we just keep growing and growing. So now you have one other thing about Master Force that you can share too that's unique to you, Marshawn, and no one else.
Oh, my mother is also a life coach as well. She got her certification before me.
Yeah.
And what happened? It's so funny because I remember she had I think you guys for your classes, you guys had the binders. And
Mm-hmm.
so she had your picture in the binder, and I was like, okay, this looks interesting. So I just started, you know how sometimes when you're a child and you like being nosy, and so I started being nosy, like looking through it just to like see
Yeah.
what it was. And then I
Mhm.
actually went to the graduation ceremony,
Yes.
and yeah, my journey kind of started there. So yeah,
That's very cool. I'm glad
That
that
is
that
cool.
inspired you like that. That's pretty nice.
yes,
Right.
yes,
Yeah, very good. So thank you. And I thank your mom too for actually allowing you to participate like that at such a
yes,
Mhm.
yes.
right? So now let's get into this conversation about self-care for children. And I really know that people can pass it off like it absolutely is not that big of a deal because parents take care of their children, right? I mean, that's kind of like what we think, isn't it? But then again, there's some things going on right now. So let us dive into it. So Tammye, how would you start off but when talking about the origin of children? How would you start off this conversation?
Well, Shemsu, as a result of my studies, obviously through Master Force, as well as attending and being a part of the Sankofa Rites of Passages, Sankofa Rites of Passage, what I learned was that when we are in our parents' womb, that
Mm-hmm.
we are actually absorbing their energy, their emotions. Um, Even prior to entering into the womb, we were a soul,
That's
we
right.
were energy, and we chose our parents
Mm-hmm.
based on our purpose and assignment
Mm-hmm.
that we are not even consciously aware of as we are birthed and we're developing. And then somewhere down the line, I think that we awaken, and then we began to um, we tap into source, and then we just started moving about in our purpose. But I think it's important to understand that that purpose that we had and the things that formed in the womb as children, that all plays a part of the greater picture on why we are here. And
Yes.
so I think that so I'm a grandparent of three,
Mm-hmm.
and I pay attention to my grandbabies and uh, what their ideals are and what they say. And there are some things that they're saying and doing, obviously, that mimics the parents.
Mm-hmm.
But also because of their sole purpose and assignment, the spirituality piece, there are some things that they may say and do that we have no idea of what they say and do.
Yes.
So we have to value what our children bring, but also be aware that their formation in our womb was not only physical, but it was spiritual, it's mental, it's emotional as we go about, right? As we go about raising them, for the lack of a better
Dr.
expression.
Tammye, you know what's right there for me?
Yeah,
What's right there is that we've been raised in the church.
yeah.
And the concept that we chose our parents kind of goes against some of those earlier teachings. That how did you actually begin to allow yourself to shift that your belief systems to hear that?
Because it's actually in the scripture. The
Mm-hmm.
scripture says, before the foundations of this world, God knew
Who you were.
us, who we were, which
Mm-hmm.
means that we existed prior to actually choosing our parents
Yep.
and entering into the womb from
Mm-hmm.
a spiritual perspective and developing into this physical life form and then being birthed into the world. So it is actually scripture.
Wow.
So it resonated with me because you were only given that scripture, but there's no context around it.
Yes.
So then as I enrolled in Masterforce Academy, and
Mm-hmm.
as I began to then attract other courses, again, Sankofa Rites of Passage, and then
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Laila Africa's Holistic Consultant Program,
Right.
I just kept getting more and more downloads and information.
Mm-hmm.
And then even having to go back and write my story.
Yes.
Why did I enter into the lifetime at the time that I entered,
Come on.
consulting with Source
Yes.
on what
Yes.
my purpose and assignment was? Why did I choose to enter the womb in 1969?
Mm-hmm.
What was happening around that time? So it's all purposeful. So if we truly understood our value and worth, then we would know how to support our children and then learn from them some things that we just don't know and we missed,
Yeah.
and then began to not, when I say it's not parenting them, but really paying attention and guiding them and equipping them to be successful in this world instead of I don't want to get too much into the left brain, but instead of conditioning them based on what our parents taught us in order to live a happy, successful life, which in many cases, that's not what we're living. But I won't go too much into that. Learning from them self-care because they are naturally doing that
Mm.
as children. They've taken care of themselves in the womb.
Wow.
And so as they're being birthed and they're communicating when they're hungry or when they're tired or something is not right, right?
Mm-hmm.
They haven't been conditioned like we have as adults to ignore our needs
Mm-hmm.
and to just keep moving on despite what our needs are. They haven't been conditioned. They learn that from the parents.
And that really is what society tends to do, isn't it? We take we actually shut them down from their natural instincts,
Come on.
right? We that
Absolutely.
from parenting to going to school to everything that they do is to shut them down and cut them off from their natural instincts. And if we would
Yes.
actually allow them to be, they would grow and we would grow too, wouldn't we?
Absolute. The foods
Mm-hmm.
that we force them to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, mentally, emotionally, yes.
Yeah.
So I guess to sum all that up, for me, the origin of children, it's way before the womb.
Yeah.
It's spiritual.
Yeah. That's
And
a beautiful.
treating it as such,
We
just
should
like
be.
we reverence God, we should be reverencing our children.
Oh, yes. I remember writing a poem or a song or something that said, Masters came as babies.
Yes, yes,
They come as
yes.
babies, but they're masters,
They're
and we have the
masters.
opportunity to actually meet them at
Mm,
their neediest place.
mm,
And if we can hold that space and that sacredness,
yes.
without the conditioning, like you're saying, without the conditioning, we would actually raise a different type of child.
And we would get what we need
And
to
we would get what
be
we need. Hmm.
a different type of parent.
Yeah, because they are the master teachers when
They
we
are the master
surrender.
teachers.
Hmm.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. And
very.
I didn't get that with my daughter, so I didn't
No,
know all this.
yeah.
So now I'm learning. I have an opportunity I'm grateful for to learn this through my grandchildren.
Hmm.
So, yes, they are the master teachers. Yes.
Very cool. Marshawn, would you add anything to this part of the conversation?
I totally agree with Tammye. I did it when being young, and I'm speaking for people younger than me and people my age. Sometimes that concept can be hard to grasp because sometimes there are certain situations with when having a relationship with your parents, you feel like, dang, why did I end up in this situation, or why did this happen
Yeah.
to me? And even just like
Mm-hmm.
you, over time, you start to realize that this was meant to be. This was meant for me to. It's almost like um, it's almost like watching a film and you have your hero, and your hero he's not automatically a hero. He has to go through all these
That's right.
different things to become the hero that he is meant to be. And it just life just happens to children are the master teacher, but life is the master teacher as well. It's
Mm-hmm.
so funny because I was listening to the story of Anita Baker and just finding out, how her life started. She didn't have a relationship with her biological parents. I think her aunt's sister, what her mom's sister was her parent for a time, but just listening to that and like understanding, like, okay, some things, like I say, things are meant to happen the way they're supposed to happen. Parents, whether they're in your life or they're not in your life, they do whatever the role that they are in your life at that moment. They were meant to play that role to make you and mold you into um, being your best self.
Yeah,
Yes.
I like how Dr. Hoppy says it. He says your family is your training ground.
Mm.
That's where you get
Yeah.
trained and developed. They're not
Yeah.
supposed to know you. The people that get to
Yeah.
know you are the people that you serve.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, Mushusu, Marshawn, what just came to me was, and this is going back to your question in regards to how I had come to this despite the religious
Yes.
upbringing.
Hmm.
When I think about the story of Jesus, Mary and Joseph, they allowed Jesus to be who he was, to be the master child.
Yeah.
So these examples are in the Bible.
Oh, yes.
It's just not taught that way.
Yeah.
Because think of the benefits that we would have if we truly understood the power of children and we learned from them,
Mm-hmm.
as was exemplified in the Bible, how
Mm-hmm.
much further we would be as adults, as parents.
And even, the example they gave that Jesus at 12 was able to distinguish that you guys are doing the wrong thing in my father's house. And he got very angry and he threw everything out and he said, "Get out of here." That was 12.
I was 12.
And
Now
you're
what if,
telling me that we're telling our children
come
that
on,
they don't have a right to make a choice until they're 18? That's
exactly.
considered what you meant grown. And trust me, we're not growing children. They're not grown at 18
Mm-mm.
in the way that we're doing it now because we have not provided them enough groundwork for them to know themselves.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
We're not
I
empowering
agree.
them. Exactly. Because think about how powerful they would feel and be if we acknowledged their power and taught them about their power.
Yep.
And then how possibly when life happened, because the life challenges obviously happen early, what their approach would be and how to handle those difficult situations as children.
Yes.
And I'm speaking in terms of molestation and things such as that. If
Yes.
they were taught truly who they were
Yep.
early, and how powerful they are, and being able to handle and respond spiritually, you
Yep.
know, and instead of in fear, which is what is instilled in our children, unfortunately, and in adults.
And adults. And we start off by saying, "I'll always be there for you," which is not the truth.
It's not the truth.
But what we need to be teaching is that God is always with you.
Yes.
Now, if you know that God is always with you, something happened, you ain't calling for mama, daddy.
Come on.
You going inside and you're
God
rooting
exists within
for
you. We are all
Mm.
that's right,
examples of God.
that inside, right? Your strength is coming from the inside. And it takes something because parents have that as their own example too.
Yes.
Yeah. So that takes something. But when the children start asking those questions, a lot of times the parents will shut them down instead of inquiring for themselves what's
Exactly.
going on. Yeah. But
Exactly.
that's really great. I'm glad that we started off there was a question that you actually wanted to talk about, Tammye, because that makes a huge difference in how we put this in context in
Absolutely.
self-care.
Absolutely.
So, I want to move into how do we then get them to look at self-care from the life quadrant?
Mhm.
How can we have children know themselves and be empowered within themselves based on the reason I love the life quadrant is because you can lay it on top of anything and
Yeah.
put together the points,
Yeah.
because we're talking about mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. How does a child care for themselves? Either one of you can answer that.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, Marshawn, please stop me at any time, okay? um, I think that it's important for us to know and understand that there is a connection between the mind, the emotional, the physical body, the spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that many adults are aware of that connection. Teaching and understanding the connection, then being able to present it to our children. And an example would be, and as you said, life quadrant is mental, emotional, physical, spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
So an example would be if a child is feeling fearful and finding out why that child is fearful. Oh, okay. Well, mommy or daddy is here, we'll protect you, or oh, there's no such thing as ghosts, go back to bed, right? Instead of that, really digging into, okay, something may have happened earlier that day. What picture is that child holding? Is the child feeling a certain way? Was there an injury that happened? Did the child get touched inappropriately? Spiritually, what's happening? What's going on with that child's energy? Was it off? So as you are understanding and assessing, then you're then able to teach your child how to assess. If you're feeling afraid, why are you feeling afraid? And in order for them to, again, learn how to go within to see the connection, because in most cases, it's not just one thing.
Mm-mm.
Everything is connected.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, Marshawn.
Oh no, I was gonna agree, and I would also say to I would say the best way to go about teaching it is also to be like, also you have to be like the representation of it within yourself. Because
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of children, whether we like to say it or not, a lot of the ways we go about existing or moving in the world is just by, you know, seeing that visualization of it in front of in our parents. And but also teaching that, like you said, everything is connected. And I don't, like you said, I don't think we growing up, I don't think everyone was taught that. Not just that, but like everything leads back to spirit. When you are mentally holding things in, um, emotionally, those things manifest physically,
Mm-hmm.
and even with sometimes emotions, you're holding things in. That could almost be the catalyst on how you mentally go about handling situations moving forward, how you go about dealing with things within yourself. I don't think we don't think about that sometimes. I think we think that these things are like secular things. They're in our body, but they are almost isolated things that don't have any connection. So then when you discover that there is a connection, I feel like once we know that there's a connection within it all, we will better serve ourselves and serve other people.
You know, that is
Yes.
that just made me remember growing up, and I remember being in school, and at some point I don't know where I saw my school records. I must have been in high school, and I saw my school records. And my school records starting in kindergarten always said she has a stomach ache. She has a stomach ache. She has a stomach ache.
Wow.
You know, yeah, she has a stomach ache, right? And then when I went to college, literally, my stomach was always in knots. And I went to see the school psychologist, and he said, that's anxiety. Never heard that word before, right?
Right.
But I want you to know it wasn't until I had to be 40 or over 40
Mm-hmm.
when I was actually retiring from corporate America, when I literally decided to breathe into that feeling because it never left me. I mean, from a child all the way up through 40, I was still feeling that pain in my stomach all the time
Yep.
that had now been labeled anxiety. And that's when I realized the breathing was so important. And I remember working on the breath, working, and I was driving my car one night and I said, oh, I don't feel that. I have to remember that I don't feel that. I have to remember what it feels like not to feel this. Because
Wow.
that had become a part of what I felt like. Does that make sense?
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. And I
Because
had
what?
no idea.
Because Muslim, so you're taught to pray about it, give it to God, and that's it. And you just go about your business, and then magically things just get better.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have
And
no responsibility in it whatsoever.
Mm-mm.
and
Nope.
it's almost like when you neglect that part of yourself, it's almost like you're teaching yourself to resist in a way.
Yes.
Um, even with like growing up, I had asthma issues, and going into adulthood, just really having to like sit down and understand that a lot of like, oh, I can't breathe. It was like me forcing myself to resist things changing or resisting.
Good. That's great.
Just resisting things as they naturally flow and go into the world. So yeah.
Well, that's why I loved, the work of Louise Hay so much.
Oh, yes.
Because you can pinpoint some of those symptoms and realize, that it's about this. It's about this. And asthma is, I think, something about resisting. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's something along that line. And so when you realize, oh, let me just be safe in this for a minute. But you still have to train yourself to do that.
Absolutely. But you have to accept it.
You have to accept it.
Because my first experience was in college, where literally I had this crick in my neck and I couldn't straighten my neck.
Whoa.
And I went to the doctor and I'm like, oh my God, I'm thinking they're gonna tell me I have this terrible disease. And they're like, oh, it's just stress. Here's a pill. And I was in denial. I said, my neck is not big stress. What does that have to do with my neck being like this?
Right.
I didn't even accept that.
Wow.
It took me to learn that there's a mind, body, spirit.
Yes. And that you have something to do with that.
Yes.
Like you literally have, like your stress, your reaction to the stressful things in life, because, life is going to do what it do. Your reaction to that is what creates that, and I like the term resistance too. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I created this thing in my head.
Right. Yes, exactly. So
but if I give you a pill, you don't have to take care of it though.
Exactly.
There you go. But if my parents never said anything about this, I've never learned about this in church or from my parents. So you coming to tell me about it isn't valid because I've never heard this before. Right? Yeah. So you got to get through that conditioning.
Yeah. So that's why I like breaking things down into, the human body being a quadrant.
Yes.
Mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Because now when we're talking to children, we can begin to see, where there's something going on mentally, but it's also affecting them emotionally, and it has something going on with them physically at the same time. And how are they doing spiritually? Because all of those things are in that same mix.
Absolutely.
And if you just deal with one of them,
exactly,
you're missing the opportunity for the whole situation to be dealt with.
Absolutely. And what I do with my grandbabies who are, 8, 6, and the baby is 3, I think it's 3, is I'll talk them through. So if they say, T mommy, my leg hurts. And I'll say, oh, your leg hurts. Well, what happened? Tell me what happened today. And so as they are talking and recalling the day, I'm making the connection. I know that they don't know yet how to do that, but at least I'm trying to get them in the practice at an early age to not just look at the leg as sore, but how did we get to this place? Like, what happened? And then what happened after that? And then were you upset? Did mommy say something to you? When mommy said that, did that cause that? Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, was mommy upset about something? So it's to get them to begin to look more inward to why they've experienced this outward reaction. That's just get them in practice.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. And it's very interesting because the point you made earlier, we didn't have the answers that we have now. Right. When we were raising our children, we pretty much learned from our experience with them. But we can actually see it. So that's really great.
Absolutely. And the application part of it for me, being a grandparent, is I didn't have it to teach my daughter. Then I learned it. Now I get to practice it on my grandchildren. And I'm like, yes, it works. It works.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now, Marshawn, were you going to add anything to that?
Oh no, that was
Yeah. That was good. That was good.
yes, yes.
That was good.
So then, now look at this. You mentioned this earlier, Tammye, about high quality nutrition,
Mm.
right? I want to talk a little bit about that, and you too, Marshawn. When we talk about high quality nutrition, what are we actually speaking to, and how can we support parents in understanding that being a need for children?
Absolutely. So high quality nutrition, uh, in a simpler form, is like electric food. It's food that's similar to the pH of our bodies as a live organic being. We're live and we're organic. We consist of billions of molecules collapsing together. We are we're thousands and millions of cells in the body that holds the genes of a gene of each parent. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So our DNA makes up our genes, and then our genes, each cell has a gene of a parent.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at how like amazing we are and how electric we are, we're looking to input foods that are highly electric, high pH, that is going to keep our bodies on fire, I like to say. That is
Right.
going to keep our energy levels up, that's going to keep our immune system strong, that we can fight off viruses, bacteria, that we can go and run and play like we did when we were younger, and just be able to have the energy to flow throughout life doing all the things that we love to do. It's putting premium gas in the car
Yes.
instead of 87, right?
Yeah.
That's high quality nutrition.
Yeah.
It's our green foods, our vegetables, our fruit, our water. It's foods that have not been cooked above 103, 105 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
that there is still some life in your fresh juices. And, so that's when I think of high quality nutrition. I'm thinking about making sure every day your child has something that is fresh and that is not dead, that is not cooked, that
And
will keep their little bodies just growing and
do you
feeling
see
good.
these children walking sometimes with and it's breakfast time, and they have the blue juice in one hand and the flaming hots in the other?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
this is to fill their bellies, because we've literally been taught that all you have to do is be full. Don't worry about the nutrition piece.
Keep
yeah,
the whole food off your plate.
Eat
yeah,
everything, right?
yeah,
Whether you
yeah,
want it or not.
yeah, yeah. And that's why, unfortunately, our children are making up the staggering numbers of increase in diabetes too, because of the poor nutrition, which means that the juices with all the white sugar, that is the blue juices with all that white sugar, that's killing them, that's causing the pH of their bodies to decrease, that's making them addicts, right? The
Mm-hmm.
flaming hots, that also has the sugar, but it has the number 45 and the red dye
Yeah.
that is dyeing the organs, that is preventing the blood from flowing freely as it should, that's causing the blood to become slush and sluggish, but still going throughout all of the organs, robbing it of its nutritional value, preventing the body from developing as it should to be healthy as they are growing. And so now you have children on medication for what they used to call adult onset type
Yeah.
diseases.
Yeah.
Their bodies are deteriorating at a faster rate And the prediction is that the children that are coming up will not outlive their parents.
Yeah,
That's
that's
how
been, yeah,
bad it
the
is.
first generation where the children would die. Yeah,
And
before.
that's because the parents are not making sure that the children are getting high quality nutritional foods
Mhm.
and water,
And I was
fresh
gonna say
water,
alkaline water. I mean, not
alkaline
faucet
water.
water, not faucet
Exactly.
water.
Clean, filtered, fresh, alkaline, no additives, preservatives, water. Because our bodies are made up of 70 to 80% water. Our brain is 80 to 90% water.
Yeah.
So if we're constantly putting in sugar, sugar, and dye, then what is happening with our brains? What's happening with our hearts, our lungs, our pancreas, our liver,
Well, they're
our
all
blood
colored. They're
systems?
not clear. They're actually colored from the dyes. Yeah, you know.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Mhm. Now,
Absolutely.
Marshawn, is your diet? You know, you still eating flaming hots and blue, blue cheese?
Oh, oh my God, it's so funny. I haven't had a flaming hot since first grade.
Oh,
First
that's awesome.
I I
grade.
I threw up flaming hots one time and I saw what it looked like and I never wanted to eat it again.
That
So
was good.
Whoa.
um yeah, but I totally agree with Tammye. Like just eating things that are going to you want to eat life, not death. And sometimes especially in like black households, you know, that's like our go-to sources to um eat death. Like so when you eat death, then you feel death, and it just causes like an array of um issues. But like even high quality nutrition, eating things that are going to feed you, like Tammye said, aid you to fight off certain diseases, certain ailments that you have. Like even for example, like when it comes to depression, um, eating certain things eating certain things. It's so funny. I was just reading up on this, but there are certain things that you will eat that will aid in depression, that will aid in you feeling depressed. And
Yes.
so that leads to a certain part of your brain,
Yeah.
and that leads to your stomach, your
Yeah.
intestines, which are made of over 39 trillion cells.
Yeah.
That's right. Come on.
And um, it was so funny. The lady that I watched, she was saying how there was an experiment done where they transferred the fecal matter of one person of a non-depressed person who ate certain foods and transferred it to a person who was depressed, and the person felt 10 times better. So
Wow.
even just like even just changing your diet, well, you want to feel alive, you want to feel like you can conquer the world, like we said, heroes. You want to feel like you can smash the wall of anything
Yes.
and still stand tall.
Mhm.
So yeah, high quality nutrition is so important. I've learned that. I've been working on that within the last year. Even last year during the pandemic, I had gained 30 or so pounds, 30, 40 or so pounds. And
Mhm.
I felt terrible. I was feeling so sluggish. Just, you know,
Well, you know that's also
congested.
man. You know that's also man weight too. You know you're coming into coming
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
manhood. You know, so
Yeah. It was that, but also like I really August I recommitted myself to being a vegetarian.
mhm.
So even just like I said, when we talk about parents supporting parents into helping their children with high quality nutrition, like we said, being that example, um, from the outside to help your child help them be that for themselves. I can't tell you how many times growing up my dad was on me like, oh, you need to eat, you need to eat more vegetables, you need to add more vegetables to your diet. Or even my mom in the sixth grade, she started us with our own vegetarian journey. And then going into adulthood actually using what they instilled in me to help and fuel myself. So yeah, like now, high quality nutrition, getting your body moving, yoga, fitness, getting those things activated so that you can function, not even just function, be alive, be that energy source that be that high vibration that you want to be.
Yeah. And that what we're talking about in high quality nutrition is the physical side of taking care of the children, you know, which includes the high quality nutrition, the fitness, and proper sleep.
Woo!
Yes.
Sleep, you know, I mean, you know, when we look at the what is it, the circadian clock, you know, we actually know that when the sun starts going down, your body starts to, you know, relax and it's time to get to bed. So by 8, 9, 10 o'clock, you know, your energy levels are low.
Yes.
But then at 11 o'clock, you know, your body says, oh, we're supposed to be asleep because it's going to do what? It's going to automatically start detoxing the glands.
That's it.
Oh my God. I am so glad that you said that. I've been looking into it, and like everything is a science. Like from what was the times? From 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. is when your body is detoxing. So if you are going to eat something, you want to eat something that's going to aid in that detoxification. So grapefruit, apples.
Yeah, like when you're what they're calling a breakfast, right?
Break fast.
High quality greens. And then from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m., that's when you want to get in your protein. And then from that 7 to that midnight, it's good for you to eat certain soups.
Or nothing at all. Because
that too.
If you're,
certain soups and nuts, yeah.
Right. If you're going to bed, you want nothing, you want your body to actually use that time to heal.
Yes.
Because it's going to heal. But if it has to digest food, it's now not going to have all of the healing elements going on. So you literally don't want to eat 2 to 3 hours before you go to sleep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what you said, Shemsu-t, you said when the glands, you know, at 11, yes, that's when the organs, the glands, the tissue, they're starting to like release the toxins. They're starting, the brain and gut's getting ready, you know, starts communicating. The kidney starts to flush. So that's that process that's happening overnight. And then what you were saying, Marshawn, as far as the actual cleansing of everything, you want to help the body to facilitate that cleansing process. But the healing process is what's happening, as Shemsu was saying, starting at 11 o'clock. And so the body is starting to heal itself. If you are not getting that 7 to 8 hours of sleep, the body has not been able to reset, and you just keep going, putting in too much foods or putting in dead food. The baby's bodies will not grow as efficiently as they should if you are not giving them regular bedtimes and not allowing, even if they don't fall asleep, just
put them in the bed.
Put them in the bed.
People used to tease me because my children were in the bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock.
That's right.
Rute said to me, he had to be about 10 and Tia had to be 5. He said, why do I still have to go to bed at the same time as her? I was like, oh, okay. Well, you can stay up an hour longer. She go to bed at 7:30, you go to bed at 8:30. But, you know, that bedtime, because what do children do? Children wake up at daybreak.
Yes, they do. They do. Absolutely, they do.
Time. They can't, well, it's time to do something.
Absolutely.
7 a.m. Saturday mornings.
Before then.
5 a.m.
They are up with the sun. They're like the roosters in the house, right? The children are up.
They are. Absolutely. Yes,
So
you know,
we
and then
have
we
to
come
get
in
there.
and condition them and put them on our patterns of sleep, right?
Oh my goodness. You don't need sleep. My kids don't have no bedtime. They fall asleep when they get tired. And it's like that's again part of that sickliness and that
Yes,
inability to heal that we condition them with because we don't allow them to know that there's a circadian clock in your body that works with nature. It works with the sun and the moon, you know.
and you know, and going back to like the origin before the conditioning, the
Yeah.
children slept as needed. They took the naps when needed.
Yeah.
It's when then us as parents began to recondition them to sleep when we sleep,
Our
or to
lifetime. Our lifetime.
yeah.
Hmm.
Exactly. So then we begin, you know, that our masters are now off of their rhythms
Hmm.
because now they're conforming to what that parent wants them to do instead of what their body needs.
With their body.
So then you learn at an early age to ignore your needs, your self care.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great. So before we move into the spiritual side, I want to talk a little bit about the emotional quadrant
Mm.
and what that looks like for children and what we can do to demonstrate or help them with self-care. Because children cry because their feelings are hurt or things are bothering them. What can we do to help them to begin to manage some of that? Do you all have any suggestions on that for the emotional, whatever age that is, or the, the younger children cry but the older children shut down? They kind of like, what's wrong with you? Nothing. So but there's still an emotional response. What would you say would be some of the things that we could do to
I would
support children?
say, I would say, really teaching young people to like tap into their emotions. Because I feel like we said, as you get older, you have the world, and sometimes your parents are teaching you to neglect how you feel. Like, okay,
Mhm.
you live in my household, so you can't possibly feel this way. So
That's good.
um teaching them and then I also teaching you have to I feel like you have to teach children that their feelings are valid. So I
Yeah.
feel like sometimes we, because they feel that way, and it's so like we're just so resisting to them having emotions and feeling things and wanting to be a certain way. We're so quick to like teaching them to like resist their emotions instead of fully teaching them to tap into their emotions and work to understand
What's
why
going
they
on?
why they feel the way they do and what's really going on.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's good. That's
Hmm.
good.
Yeah.
I agree, Marshawn.
Yes.
I'm listening to you speak, and I think about that social emotional aspect. And when I was teaching in restorative justice in Chicago public schools, and realizing that as children, not knowing how to communicate, 5, 6, 7-year-olds, we react emotionally when we're young because we don't know how to communicate how we feel.
That's right.
And then we carry on the same traits as we get older if no one actually teaches us how to stop, how to breathe, to center.
Breathe
let's
to
just
center.
let's
Just
just breathe
breathe. Let's breathe, and then we can talk. Right.
and then let's talk, because in many cases it may not be as bad as it seems, but when we're emotional, it's very challenging to make decisions or get to the source or the cause of it or resolve it if we're still in our emotions. So important, Marshawn, to make sure that they know that their emotions are valid.
Mm-hmm.
Emotions are important. However, we acknowledge what it is, and then we have to know how to move on from it in
Yeah.
order to get to the resolution, to not be stagnant in that emotion, because many adults suffer, it's been clinically proven, develop cancer and different diseases because they never resolve the emotional issues.
Mm-hmm.
They never learn how to manage their emotions where they can acknowledge them and then work through them and getting the resolution that they want.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to be able to model it, okay, before our kids, because of course, if we come home screaming and hollering because we had a bad day at work, and now
Hello?
we're taking it out on the children, and then they see us go grab some wine or a cigarette or whatever, right? Then we're teaching them this is how you handle your emotions. You go for something external
Yeah.
in order to relieve yourself of that particular, whether it's a negative emotion or a positive emotion or a negative emotion.
Yeah.
This is how you react. When you celebrate, go get a beer, So it's important for us to learn so that we can model it before our children.
Yes.
And also I would say too, to add on to that, changing affirmations on our children, because I feel like sometimes what I've seen is that you have these kids, and sometimes we perceive them as bad children. And so then you start to affirm that, and then
Oh my
adults start to affirm that on them, and so they grow up feeling unheard.
Yeah. But they're bad. In their
Yeah.
own mind, they're bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They grow up feeling unheard, mistreated, feeling neglected, feeling like no one truly understood who they were. When we could have, we should have actually took the time to, like you said, understand what is going on. Why do they feel this is going on, and why do they feel like this should be the response as to dealing with what's going on in their life.
Yeah. I want to add too, my two favorite go-tos are EFT and Bach flower. I remember when my daughter, she had to be about 5 or 6, and she was very whiny. And I remember her brother saying to her, "Why can't you just talk plain? Why do you have to whine?" And we didn't have the internet like we have the internet now. But I did go and do research on, how to stop a child from whining.
Yeah, that's good.
Right. How does that? And Bach flower came up, and it was like larch. Larch, go and get larch. So I went and got larch Bach flower, and just a little container with a little dropper on there. And just, for a couple of days, put it in her water. And, one day she started talking to me like an adult, and I was like, whoa, wait, she hasn't stopped yet. But, that was it. That was that larch, because larch instills confidence. So one of the things about Bach flower that I love is that it works with the elements of the soul.
Yeah.
So when we're struggling to develop our capacity, and children are struggling to develop certain capacity, we can give them the Bach flower, and it can help them. So she was lacking confidence. That a lot of times when you're the youngest, you don't feel like people can hear you. They can't be heard, so you feel like you have to cry about it or whine. But now she's very And then the other one, emotional freedom technique, helping to shift their emotions. And even parents, just to sit with your children and teach them how to tap, because when you're in school, you can get overwhelmed with stuff.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
to mention testing and all that kind of stuff. We should be doing tapping sessions.
Yes.
Before all these doggone crazy tests that they're doing.
Absolutely.
Even in the morning before they go to school. But, let's just pray about it and see what happens,
Yeah, absolutely. Because then that requires us as parents to know and understand energy And we oftentimes, I know I didn't know anything about energy other than me having energy to do the things that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But understanding that there are meridians of the body and where, our emotions may be stagnant or, so it's awareness that we have all of these tools that can support our children, and us taking the time out as parents, as you said you did, Shemsu, and saying, let me go and do my research, because we do have internet now.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
So I
I find
see that
out a lot more now than what I could back then.
back then, and you found a solution.
Yes.
And so as parents, we should take the time out and not just accept behaviors as, oh, they just suck their finger
They're
because I
acting
suck
out.
my finger. Oh
Right.
yeah, or they're acting out,
Yeah.
or they're still bedwetting. Oh yeah, that's natural, that's normal. I wet the bed until I was 10. I mean, take the time out to say, you know what, let me support my masters.
Yeah.
Let
Let me support
me,
my masters. Like
and
honoring the
yes,
sacredness of them
yes,
being in your space instead of do what I
yes.
tell you to do. Go sit down.
There
You
you go.
know?
And let me get them the tool as the parent to support their development.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the mindset we should have as parents, instead of making excuses
Yeah.
and then,
They do
allowing
that
them
because
to.
my mama did that. My mama did that. It's like
Mm-hmm.
your grandmama. They
Yeah, right. And so we get to like the age of 40 and say, oh, this isn't normal. Oh, okay. you know?
right. Right.
Yeah.
So now I want to move into the spiritual side,
Yeah.
and really look at how do we, how do we support our children spiritually in self-care? What does that look like? What, I think Tammye, you mentioned in our inquiry together, how do we teach them about the ancestors? How do we let them know that this is part of their lineage and that there's people that are listening for them and with them and walking with them? How do we do that without scaring them? you know
Yes, yes. I believe that, and I wish I knew this back then, that we should mimic some of the other cultures that teach their children how to sit and be quiet.
yeah.
In going to, the Vietnamese bathhouse, or the Korean bathhouse, I should say, I
Mm-hmm.
sit there and I watch the mothers have their babies
Yep.
sitting there learning how to just be silent.
Yep.
If we could start there
Mm-hmm.
and then be able to create or include them in our spiritual practice.
Mm-hmm.
They're mimicking what we do anyway until the age of 8, correct?
That's right. Well, actually, 7.
Is it 7?
The reticular activating system comes in at 7 when they
7.
now begin to question why are you
7.
doing that. They
Okay.
mimicking up to 7, and after 7, they either calling you a fool or they.
Okay. They're carrying on the mimicking. Yes, 7.
Yeah.
So how awesome would it be in them not being dependent upon electronics,
Yeah.
but actually learning how to be silent and the importance of that, and then how to connect to spirit, and then be able to, because in that time, you can sit and have conversations about the ancestors.
Yeah.
You can talk about history and why we are here as a people,
Mm-hmm.
as they are developing and getting older and can process and understand more and more. But
Mm-hmm.
it has to start somewhere. And listening to the parents give honor to our ancestors, our angels, our masters, our teachers, our loved ones. They're hearing all of that. All of that is being put into their spirit. So then when it's time, organically, they begin to reach out and appreciate ancestors,
Mm-hmm.
listening to the stories of those who came before us and the sacrifices that were made, understanding, especially for the Black community, understanding why we are where we are as a community and all the sacrifices that went forth, the traditions that existed prior to slavery. These are all the stories.
I get so mad that the only thing they teach in Black history is when slavery started. Like, no, there was a whole lot before,
Come
if
on,
slavery even existed. Because I'm questioning you now about
come on,
that. Because I
come on.
believe that was just something made up so that you can try to keep us, in.
Wow. Right, oppressed as
Yeah,
people.
oppressed because there's more evidence that there's more of a lie being told than the truth. And
Wow.
especially that you want to start there as our history.
Yeah, you want to start with Christopher Columbus discovering America. Really? Could we just get
Yeah.
past all of that and let
Yes.
somebody tell the truth? Because
Yes.
those books are lost of the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now they even want to change history in regards, I think it's Texas, like they want to take out slavery. So
It's a whole lot going on.
it's his story, his
His
story.
story. It is his story. Right.
Exactly.
Now, Marshawn, I know that you do ancestral work. How were you when you started creating an altar, and who introduced you to that process?
I was actually introduced to my mother. My mother, she had gotten, I think, someone who did altar work. He was a, what do we call them?
Baba
Um,
or something?
yes,
He's
he was a
like,
Baba. Yeah,
mm-hmm,
and
Oh, Baba. Okay.
mm-hmm,
he had a vision. He had a vision about my sister. Like he had a vision about my sister um, taking a certain path, and so my mother had gotten us started on the path of Yoruba
mm-hmm.
and understanding ancestral altars and stuff like that. And so, yeah, that was my introduction into it.
And how old were you? Do you remember?
I was in the sixth grade. I had to be, ooh, 11 or 12.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and at the time, I didn't know what it was, but it just affirmed to me on how like we've been saying that really, like we've been talking about the history, understanding the foundation on what I represent and who I am, and who I'm speaking for when I'm moving in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it just affirmed to me that even when our ancestors pass on, we, like I said, this secular, this isolated thing where they're physically not here, so they're we have no connection to them anymore, but understanding that they are still with us
Oh, yeah.
and guiding us along the way. And that's
Yeah.
that's why I love the breathing to center and sitting still, because when you just allow yourself to just sit still and like fully be present, because like we've been saying, when you have technology and you have social media, it's almost like those things pull so much out of you,
Mm-hmm.
and just being able to like take a moment to like step away from that and just being present, and you actually hear them speaking to you when you need
Yes.
it, and also just asking for guidance. I remember a few years ago when I was going through my own depression, I just said, Spirit, I don't know how I need it for you to get it to me, but I want to grow myself spiritually and I need guidance. And just
Mm.
literally speaking to the earth, speaking to the universe, and
Mm-hmm.
literally it will speak right back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, just trusting, like I said, understanding that your ancestors, they're still with you to help and guide you along the way. Sometimes it may not be the way that you want it to be, but they are there guiding you and helping you along the way, and just being able to pay attention to the signs, angel numbers,
Mm-hmm.
even for myself. I remember my grandmother passed on. She made her transition in 2016, And I remember that there was a mentor of mine. He had passed away in December of 2015. And when I tell you, I went to my grandmother's funeral and I looked in the obituary, and the man, I kid you not, the man who was giving the service, he had the exact same name as my mentor who had passed on. And they both were pastors of churches. And so it was just amazing for me to see that and be like, wow, sometimes when you feel alone, like your ancestors will make themselves known to you, that they are there helping to guide you. If you just sit and ask for their guidance, they will be there to help you along your way, along your journey.
And that is so important because again, parents, we just can't be with our children all the time. You know, but the ancestors and the universe and God, I mean, always.
Yes.
Never disconnected unless you disconnect.
You know, listening to Marshawn and thinking about as a child, we knew at bedtime to say your prayers.
Yes.
Amen. Okay.
Yes.
And so you're conditioned to believe there's this one God. Okay. You pray to that God and then you go to bed and all your dreams come true. And then, at some point you realize, okay, things are not going as I asked God for them to go, as I think that they should go. But then you get into disappointment, hurt, this disconnection with source, because now you're upset because you were taught that this was supposed to happen. Or when you go to church and you get saved, all your dreams going to come true, right? So now you're disappointed again because now they taught you about God and talked to you about Jesus, and you still having life struggles.
Yeah, okay? I'm still not saved.
I'm still not saved.
Okay.
Saved from what? Because I'm still going through some stuff, right? And so then it's like, and listening to Marshawn, it's like, that there's more.
Yeah.
That there's more, but nobody is teaching you and telling you about it. And so then again, there's this disconnect from source because now you're angry because you're not getting the answers. So teaching children at an early age the truth and creating this altar, this spiritual time with them, modeling it, teaching them the truth, allowing them to flourish and have their own relationship and tap into what's already in the God in you, which will only be experienced through silence. So hearing all that, and so Marshawn, I'm like, gosh, yes, for so long, as a child, you just pray and you just hope that things are gonna turn out okay. And then at some point you realize I have the spirit of my ancestors that are always surrounding me.
Yeah.
And that's the amazing thing about having ancestral altars and having altars, because your ancestors are like your closest connection to God.
Yes.
So, once you're able to talk to them and ask them for their guidance, that's another thing I would say too, just teaching children the true importance of faith. Like, faith is that inner knowing of trusting the unknown, trusting that you will be okay in the long run, and trusting your intuition. Because sometimes society almost teaches you, let me not say almost, society teaches you to go against what you feel, how you feel about things, go against, your spirit will always tell you like something is not right.
Yep.
Something is not right. So why do I keep doing this, allowing myself to not feel right?
Yeah.
And if we just teach children to like trust their intuition, it's so funny. Let me tell you. So my mom, in February, I quit my job. This is the job that I've had since I left high school. And
Okay.
you know, my mom, she was like, you know, she was kind of upset because she was like, a lot like most parents, they'll teach you, you know, before you quit a job, you know, you want to have something set up,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
But you know, it's so
Yeah.
funny, and it's so funny because I saw a video. We both saw a video, and the video was saying that, you know, you have to trust your intuition, and
Yeah.
sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have to trust your intuition, but go against what your parents have taught you, because then you will feel like you never really lived, you never really fully went out for
Always
what you
doing what your
wanted.
mama told you to do.
Exactly,
True.
exactly.
True.
So, you know, just, you know, learning that when you trust your intuition and go through the journey, trust in the process. When you trust the process, you know, try not to fully control everything,
Mm-hmm.
you will be a okay. Like,
That's the truth.
That
and
is
That's the truth.
that's crucial. That you just made a very crucial point, right?
Absolutely.
Because until you can surrender,
Mm.
right? Until you can surrender, till you can release control, you really don't know what life is.
Come on.
You're controlling everything. So when you release control and then say, well, what's really going to happen, and trust the process, because you don't know what's going to happen, you trusting, man, that's a whole nother adventure.
Come on.
That's a
Absolutely.
whole nother adventure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I
But
do want to add
go
really
ahead.
quickly, if I can
Yeah.
add really quickly, we've
Mhm.
talked about the ancestors, but also I think it's important for us to teach our children how to respect our elders. We talked
Mhm.
about this, Mushamsu,
Yeah.
because our elders that are still here are valuable, hold valuable information, wisdom, knowledge, understanding. And
Mhm.
our children should be taught the value of the elders, and I
Mhm.
think that there's a disconnect in that now, where we look at, well, the children are not taught, and so they disregard those who, have been here on this planet for a long time, including grandparents. They don't know. And so they don't come to us as they should,
Mhm.
because in their minds, we're older, we're slow, we're whatever
You don't know
it is.
nothing.
Yeah, they don't know nothing. They just old, right? And
Mhm.
so then that's where the parents come in, and getting them to understand the value of your elders that are still here.
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
understand, and I would like to piggyback on that also. Um, Understanding the value of, and that's what I speak to when I say foundation. Like, there, you know, your elders and your ancestors were the foundation for you to be who you are today,
Mhm.
and really just sitting down and understanding, and I feel like it could be switch vice versa, like understanding the story and what it took
Mhm.
for them to, you know, continue on their lineage and generations.
Mhm.
Even specifically with Black people, and melanated people, just like understanding the true foundation of what it took to get to who you are today and who you represent, and going into the
Yes.
world.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because going back to the origin and emotions and all of that in the
Yes.
womb, your grandmother carried you in her womb.
Mhm.
That's how deep the connection is.
That's right.
The eggs from the mother, the grandmother
Grandmother's
carried the
already
mother,
there. That's right. Mhm.
already there.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I was listening, and just really bubbling. I know we could talk all night, right? And I was listening. I said one of the processes that we do teach in our courses, and we do introduce it in our courses for children, ACEs, academics create exceptional students, is the Marv technique.
Yeah,
What the Marv technique does have to be done in silence, right? Because it's
it
meditation,
does.
affirmation, relaxation, visualization.
Visualization. Yeah.
So, if we can, those by themselves are forms of empowerment for children, teaching them to meditate when they have a problem and to affirm what it is that they actually want to see instead of affirming I'm bad, because I'm bad is an affirmation too.
Absolutely.
It's an affirmation. So when you imprint a child with I'm bad, they're saying that to themselves and they can't counter that because it becomes a belief system. It becomes a
Absolutely.
belief. So they literally have to affirm something different from that. And then they have to relax and trust the process, trust that things are working out, and then actually visualize it. You know, actually visualize seeing that life is good. And this is the challenge that we're having because of all the gun violence and then parents sitting and watching their children play gun violence all day on their systems. You
Yes.
think they don't match?
Wow.
I mean, I don't get this.
Wow.
Your child is being programmed by a game for gun violence.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
then they go outside and they are afraid of gun violence and then they see gun violence. I mean,
Right.
this is on us.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And we have got to become more responsible for what we're putting in our children's hands.
Not just even the games, but also the music. Because like now, I feel like a lot of my generation and younger, they're not even like certain words hold vibrations, but also it's almost like now it doesn't even matter what the person is saying. It's like the beat is the vibration of the beat is what's helping in a lot of what's going on as well.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh my! Go ahead, Tammye.
No, yes, I agree with both of you all. And the Marv technique, that's something that in my practice, that I am really trying to teach parents so they can model the Marv technique, the meditation, the affirmations, because the message that we're often giving our children is that we don't have time for self-care. There's no time for self-care because you got to go to work. I got to feed you. I got to get you to your activities. I got to do this and do that. How often do they see the parent actually relaxing? How often do you see a parent meditating, affirming when they're feeling a certain way, visualizing, right? So it is up to us as parents to really get that technique down so that we can teach our children, because children, they oftentimes don't remember what they say, but they do remember what you do.
They remember what they see.
They remember what they see. And when you're sending the message that self-care is not important because you can never find time to meditate, affirm, relax, or visualize, then that children then will get caught up in that hamster wheel of life. And then
that's all they do is keep moving.
They keep moving. Absolutely.
Wow. Guys, we're getting to the 9 o'clock hour.
Wow.
Wow.
I know it went so fast, and then still I have so many more questions. But I don't know. We'll have to create a round table for this or something.
Yes.
Yeah. This is
teach
great.
a class. We could teach a class.
You teach several classes, right?
Several classes.
So now we've said a lot to people, and I want you to share any resources that you may have that parents can go and look for, and then also let people know where they can find you. If you have any courses or any programs coming up, just spend the next few minutes letting people know what it is that you offer the community that they can actually take advantage of.
Okay, Marshawn, you want to go?
Oh yes, I'll go. Some of my resources would be this book. Acts of Faith. This book really, like we said, having faith, trusting the unknown, trusting the process of things. This book really helped me to do that. The good thing about this book is that the book is 365 pages, and there's an affirmation and a, a reading for each day. And then with
Yes.
each day comes with a journal prompt that you can do to do your own self work with it. So that's the good thing that I like about this book.
Wonderful.
But yes, this book, and then
That's
another
Ayanna,
book.
right? That's Ayanna
Yes,
Marshawn.
Iyanla Van Zandt, Acts of Faith,
Mhm. Mhm.
daily meditations for people of color.
Mm-hmm.
Iyanla Van Zandt. And then another book that I read on was The Seat of the Soul by Gary Zukov.
I love it.
Yeah.
This book really helped as well. And just like some of the tools we recommended tonight, breathing to center, visualizations, creating vision boards. Vision boards help so much. And also journaling, being able to, like we said, sit with your emotions, sit, journal, write out how you feel, because words do cast spells. So, like I said, it's all, everything is connected. So being able to do these things will greatly help with self-care. Some of the services that I offer, like I said, I have my own podcast, which is specifically catered to young people.
Yeah.
And when do
So yes,
where can we find your podcast? And when?
you can find my podcast on YouTube at Frencha Full Circle. Also, we have the video version on YouTube, and then we have the audio versions on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, anywhere where you can stream a podcast and listen. You can find French Full Circle.
Okay.
And yes, French Full Circle does offer. French Full Circle also does offer life coaching services. I do also offer tarot services as well, and love and destiny card services with that. So yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Beautiful.
you. Wonderful,
Beautiful.
Marshawn.
Beautiful.
I love
Yes.
watching you expand and grow.
Oh, I
Thank
love
you, thank you, thank you. And I'm thankful for the both of you. Like, you both have helped me with this journey. So
That's
yes. Oh,
wonderful.
Moose, I will also be contacting you very soon about doing another episode of Friendship Full
Okay, all
Circle.
right.
So yes.
That's I'm here for you.
I love it. I love it.
What about you, Dr. Tammye?
Okay, yes. So I would love to be able to share the books that I felt were very instrumental in me, just really understanding how to parent. There are actually several resources from Dr. Laila Africa, who is my mentor, called African Holistic Health. Also, he has another book called Melanin: What Makes Black People Black, and understanding that. And then the Handbook for Raising Black Children. It's a comprehensive, holistic guide. So those are some good resources. Shemsu-t did talk about Louise Hay, and I often refer to her when I am starting to experience symptoms of something, aches, pains, things that happen in my body, to get to the root cause, the emotional cause of what's happening. So definitely a great resource. And so I like to say detox classes. Like, I'm a detox coach. What I do is, for those parents that are like, oh my God, there's so much, I just don't know, where do we begin? I'm actually that coach that will help you to begin to break through some of the conditioning, so that you can begin to go to your inner self, go into your true self, to your soul purpose, so that you can begin to experience all that's been out here, but maybe you weren't aware of because of so many years of conditioning. So that's really my focus at this time, as a holistic detox coach, mind, body, spirit. And you can find me on all social media under Restored by Tammye, YouTube as well. I even have a little TikTok account, trying to keep up with Marshawn's group, which they probably moved on to other things, but
I can't get there yet. I haven't
I'm
get
trying
there.
to. I got a few little videos on there. So
speaking of TikTok, there's another resource. There's a lady on Instagram. Her name is I Am Surviving Vegan.
Oh yeah, I know.
And she gives great
I like her.
great short in-depth videos on being a vegan and
I love that.
Yeah.
The high quality nutrition.
Yes.
I agree. She is good. I follow her too.
Okay.
Yes. So Restored by Tammye. Look me up. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys so much. I love this. You know.
Wait! I have another resource.
He's so funny.
And you know what the funny thing is? Moot, you wrote it.
What
Was it Healing Waters?
You're talking about the patiently waiting for nothing?
Yes. That's a great one. Yes.
Yes.
Basically, that's my first book back in 2001. I wrote that.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. I keep threatening to republish it. I just haven't did it yet.
Yeah.
Okay, let me check one more time, Marshawn. Do you have another one?
I'm all good. I'm all set.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I just want to check with our one guest, Shalonda. Did you have a question or anything that you needed to ask of either of our guests tonight?
Hey everyone.
Hey Shalonda.
Hey, I'm at work, so I've been listening.
Thank you for coming on.
Yes.
I know, right?
Oh.
It's been a good show. You guys did very well.
Thank you.
Hi, Tammye.
Hey Shalonda. So good to see you.
So, in the next couple of days, I'll be doing for the grandparents, and it was really nice to hear and refreshing to see that we're all on one accord as far as self-care, because that's part of, us as grandparents, as their next ancestors moving forward, to make sure that they have some type of knowledge, and for us to give them that gift, and as well as that receive gifts from them. So it's a small world, and everything is tying in together. So
it is.
I appreciate each one of you for your input and insight, and it's moving forward. I wish we had some other speakers on here, because I'm sure every conversation is gonna melt into the next show, the next conversation. So but we're all connected anyway, so it's all good.
And
but
this will go up on YouTube.
Everything.
Yep, this will go up on YouTube, so we'll be able to share it and pass it on. Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And thank you all. And thank you, Marshawn, for partnering with me tonight. I appreciate you.
Yes, Marshawn, great job.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
And then tomorrow night, we're actually going to have Marshawn's mom, Enadina Fisher, Frencha, along with Dr. Sanji Jones-Manson, talking about parental support. So we're going to go a little bit deeper into what it looks like for parents to make that difference in having our children really, really get themselves and move into self-actualization at an earlier age.
Oh, great.
Good. That sounds good.
Yeah.
So if you guys can join us, same link works, so.
Yes. Oh, same link.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right, you guys, I'm going to sign off. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Day 2 of Our Children Matter on Ignite
Thank you.
Connection. Good night, everybody.
Yes.
Good night.
Good night.